Hey folks, changing of the seasons took place this week, right? First day of school. That's right. The school buses are running, the lights are on in the schools, students are in the classrooms, and teachers are there with all those fresh young minds in front of them. And it's great, things kind of just get going. Now, when sons and daughters get home in the evening, maybe there's a couple of things that are asked. One question that's often asked is, how was your day at school? Another question that gets asked is, what's your teacher like? And I don't know how the day at school went, but usually let's say how your teacher, what your teacher's like, usually kind of ranges like, oh, great, I'm looking forward to this. This is a wonderful teacher. I could listen to him or her all day long on any topic. To maybe the other end would be, oh my gosh, you should have seen the list of what they want us to do this year. It is so long and so demanding. And I'll tell you, this person didn't crack a smile all day long. Is he or she ever stern? Gonna be a tough year. Hey, fasten your seatbelt, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Something like that. But in the midst of all that, I guess I have to say that just thinking about our readings this week, I have to ask, Jesus sure sounds like a tough teacher today, doesn't he? I mean, listening to what he is saying to the people, they said there's this great crowd that's traveling with him, but really, I'm going to, spoiler alert, he's talking to the disciples. Great crowds are traveling with Jesus. He turns and addresses them. If anyone comes to me without hating his father, mother, wife, children, brothers or sisters, even his own life, he can't be my disciple. Whoever does not carry their own cross after me cannot be my disciple. Boy, that just about wipes out all of us, doesn't it? What hope for us when we listen to this? Now, I want to address this near the end of the homily. I want to tell you, I think that Jesus is doing this for a particular reason, saying it this way. But for now, we're listening to the teacher. What are the examples the teacher gave us to ponder? Well, hey, let's stick with those first. Now, he's talking about constructing a tower. I don't know about towers. Maybe many of you are building a home or putting an addition on your home or something like that. Maybe doing some home repairs. Who doesn't sit down to kind of calculate the cost first? I mean, hey, fall is coming, rain is coming, winter's coming, other stuff comes with winter, doesn't it? You want to make sure you have enough put aside as far as cost goes to make sure you got a roof over your heads, make sure there's windows, make sure you got a furnace going. You're responsible for these things. Not just your own life, but other people who live with you, your family and all that goes with that. Yeah. You want to do the common sense thing. Now, you might see other people doing things differently, but still you kind of follow along what people might be doing because that's what makes sense if you're building a house around here. Okay. The second example, a little different. Kings marching into battle. We don't experience that very often around here, do we? I mean, kings and queens haven't been around here for an awfully long time. But all the same, I heard, with a respectful nod to our friends at school, I heard an interesting history lecture on like a podcast on the internet a few days ago. I want to share just a little snippet of it with you because I think it was useful. We just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II just a few weeks ago, right? End of war in Japan in the middle of August. And people sometimes wonder, well, why did the Japanese surrender when they did? I mean, the war had been going very badly for them for a long time. Why did they wait so long? People often wonder that. Heard a very interesting lecture. Let's start just for us Americans here. We've got a constitution, right? We have an executive, a legislative, and a judicial branch. All have their powers and responsibility. Balance of powers, we have those things. Japan has a constitution too. The emperor is in the constitution, but he's like this airy, almost semi-mystical, semi-religious kind of figure that floats over everything. In Japan, they were run by a committee. In this case, it was a committee of 6. And the committee of 6 had heavy representation from the Army and the Navy. Not just because it was wartime, that's the way it was in Japan. And the first atomic bomb had been dropped. Russia was massing their troops on the borders of Manchuria and China. The 6 wanted to have a meeting. 3 of the 6 said, we need to listen to the terms of peace put together by the Allied leaders. The other 3 said, we need to fight on to the bitter end. What shall we do? They were deadlocked. They were deadlocked. Then the second bomb fell. First Hiroshima, then Nagasaki. We need to consult with the emperor. Now, we never consult with the emperor. He is this mystical figure floating over everything. The emperor consents to a meeting. The 2 groups of 3 bring experts along the way to talk about things. The group that's in favor of fighting on brings the general who's in charge of the armies that are defending the southernmost part of Japan, where they believe an invasion will eventually come from the Allies. And there he is standing before the emperor, this general. What am I going to say? I have hundreds of thousands of troops. Many of them are 12, 13, and 14-year-old boys who we are teaching how to hold a rifle. Many are 55, 60, and 65-year-old men who we've dragged to help save the country. He looks the emperor in the eye and tells him, I have no confidence in our ability to defend our homeland. Many will die and the people will suffer. And the emperor nods and looks to the table where the army and navy leaders and the band Fight On are sitting. He says to them, in my heart, I know we need peace. Make it so. And that's what happens there. In the case of putting a roof on your house, that takes common sense. In the case of telling the emperor and all those assembled leaders what the truth is, that takes courage. Consider the possibilities that Jesus is talking to the disciples saying, and let's, by the way, go back now to why I think Jesus was teaching this way. Why was Jesus so very, very stern? Why was Jesus being a tough teacher that day? Earlier in the Gospels, we have heard, let's say, Jesus is walking with the disciples down the road, and he hears the disciples arguing among themselves. Who among them is the first and the greatest among them? Jesus gets a visit from the mother of James and John, asking, when you come into your glory, Lord, can you put your sons, one on your left and one on my right, when you come into your kingdom? There are several moments like that in the Gospels, and Jesus is realizing, like good teachers realize, I taught the lesson, hasn't sunk in yet. Need to say it again. Maybe say it differently so I have their undivided attention. And I think that's why we have the very, very strong message here, because we know Jesus is not counseling us to hate our parents and hate our families. I mean, what's that 4th commandment again? Honor thy father and thy mother? Those things don't go together, do they? This is not wondering who is this Jesus and why is he talking so strangely. Let's look in how he is doing this. And this is maybe like good teachers find different ways to make certain messages come across. May we think a little bit about how maybe sometimes these different messages, whether it's Jesus or our sisters and brothers of the world, kind of touch our lives, to open us to the possibilities of what it means to truly be a disciple and follow in his path, and to live out what it means, whether it means maybe standing apart from what the common wisdom or the common sense answer might be to do the right thing, or maybe to have the courage to do what is right when no one else will. So we think a little bit about what it means to be a disciple, and sometimes the cost of discipleship is high. But Jesus invites us to follow him because he says the cost is high, but come, I will remember you, I will care for you forever.